This is going to be an awesome episode.
This is going to be a good
It's
one.
going to be really great content.
Because we're like right there.
On the edge. The leading edge.
We're just, it's fresh. And this is like clarity that we're capturing. Like we talk about this a lot.
Yeah, totally. So here's the clarity we're capturing today. In today's episode, we are super excited to share with you a concept that we actually created called the Journey to Conscious Creator.
Yes. Yeah, this is actually something we hashed out basically when we just started looking at
humanity.
Humanity. Like, what is the journey to someone becoming the conscious creator of their reality? Because you definitely see people that are going through their day speaking things basically frivolously, not really thinking about what's coming out of their mouth or their dominant thought patterns or trying to establish anything like that.
And that's definitely not abnormal because 95% of the planet is actually in that box of being the unconscious creator of their own reality. They don't really know what's going on out there. They don't know about the law of attraction or any of these things that are actually attracting more of the things that they're thinking about into their life experience.
Yeah, and that statistic comes from an Abraham Hicks conference that we went to. They basically were just saying that 95 out of 100 people are more unconsciously creating their life experience. They're not really aware that they're at the center of their own vibration and having the ability to impact their vibration and the things that come to them vicariously.
Exactly. So that's why we came up with a Journey to Conscious Creator, which is actually a ladder. It's a 7-rung ladder.
Yeah, and the cool part about this ladder is you're always creating.
Right.
Whether you're aware that you're creating or not is a totally different animal. So the first rung on the Journey to Conscious Creator is unconscious creator.
So like we just said, 95% of the planet is on this rung of the ladder of unconscious creator. I'm sure you've heard, you can identify these people because you have heard many things that they say on a daily basis, such things as, I know today's going to be a really bad day. They kind of doom the day.
Yeah, totally. I feel like people, whenever you become aware, which we'll speak of in a second as we go up the ladder, but whenever you become aware that you are the creator of your reality, there are just certain things that you don't say anymore. There are certain ways of speaking into reality that you just don't engage with anymore. Mainly anything that would sort of like doom the day or...
We've even heard people doom the year.
Oh, absolutely.
On the first day of the year. We've gotten phone calls that where people on the other line or on the other end of the phone are saying, well, I know this year's going to suck.
Yeah, no, totally.
It's going to be an awful year.
It's like, why would you say that? Like, why would you say that?
It's the day of transforming your life for most people.
Actual literal conversations with people. So a little backstory on us. We actually run the online infrastructure for companies. That's how we made our rise in business. So we build things like websites, video production, marketing, CRM, phone systems, pretty much anything a business would need, A to Z. We build it, and we essentially help companies either get unstuck from a particular revenue or go from scratch to their first multi-million dollar revenues.
From conception or idea to tangible business.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate to be able to build some really cool things and be involved, more importantly, with some really cool people. So in that world, we get to communicate with a lot of business owners, and even business owners. You would be amazed sometimes at like what their focus is. Like you were just saying, we've gotten phone calls from people
on the first of the year.
Like I remember one time I got a call from a business owner, and he just got on the phone and he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know something." I'm like, "All right, what's up?" He was like, "It's gonna be a bad year." And I was like,
"It's like, dude."
I was like, oh, wait, what? What do you mean it's gonna be a bad year? And then he began to elaborate on all the things that were up and coming. It was an election year. There were going to be a lot of political unrest. There's a lot of different things. And essentially he said, yeah, it's going to be a bad year, and here are all the reasons why people are going to be distracted and maybe buying less. So I just want you to be prepared for this bad year. And I was just like, I don't even know like how to engage this right now. You know what I mean? Like certainly not something you'd want to speak into your existence. But at the end of the day, that person at the time is creating his reality.
And he's definitely on the rung of unconscious creator, wouldn't you say?
Well, I would say, you know, some people, you want to say that they would be more of a conscious creator of their reality because of the success that they've had and because of the life experience that they've had and a lot of the really cool things that they've done and a lot of the frameworks that they've developed and the respect you have for them. So you would want to say that they're consciously aware that they're creating their reality with their thought. But generally speaking, just because they've had success in life and developed really solid frameworks and done a lot of these things that you respect them for, doesn't mean that they subscribe to the doctrine of thoughts become things and I should really pay attention to what I put my focus and energy into, because where focus goes, energy goes, and where energy goes, that expands, right?
Exactly.
That's where expansion happens. So at the end of the day, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like we're not saying that unconscious creator is a bad place.
I was there for a long time.
I mean,
everybody, when you're born, you basically come into this world forgetting your connection to infinite consciousness. So you come here and you're in a human body having the human experience. And part of that is not remembering all of the non-physical.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could make a case that kids remember and then sort of society beats it out of them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they learn how to become human.
Yeah, it's like, well, this is how humans operate. You know,
teach them about reality.
Yeah, let me teach you about reality, boy.
Let me teach you how to be an unconscious creator.
Yeah, exactly. And basically,
they're like, no, I'm a conscious creator.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, no, I can do and have anything. I see this unlimited potential, and kids will come up with these like wild ideas about what they're gonna be and what they can do and the inventions they're gonna do and all the things that they're gonna create.
Yeah,
and then eventually people that have kind of been let down by the world, you know, kind of talk about their dreams on accident, trying to, just like that business owner I was just talking about, just like, hey, you know, I don't want you to be bummed out if it is a bad year. I'm just saying it's gonna be a bad year. I'm just setting your expectation. And, you know, that's a big thing in the world of unconscious creation is whenever people aren't aware that they're creator of their reality, then there's sort of this almost responsibility that people feel to not let kids get their hopes up, not let people get their hopes up. You know what I mean? So like, if I can set your expectations low, then if you don't hit much, or if you don't hit the high rung on the ladder, or if you don't go have the success that you thought you could have when you were 5, then you're not going to be so disappointed. All along, training their vibration to expect a bunch of dump, which is like
so
not fun.
The law
you know?
of attraction is going to bring that to them. A lot of people go through life like they're in a casino. They have no idea the cards that they're going to be dealt, so they're bracing themselves for what they're going to see and preparing themselves to get through that instead of taking the power back to themselves and like saying, I am the conscious creator of my own reality. What I think about, I bring about.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the Forrest Gump's mom, you know, life is like a box of chocolates.
You never know what you're going to get.
And, you know, when you look at it, it's a wonderful quote and it's beautiful and how they structured it and all of that. But at the end of the day, that is very much an unconscious creator focal point.
And I feel like a way of twisting that into the way that a conscious creator would see that. So life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. If you're a conscious creator thinking about that, then it would be more of an excitement, an anticipation,
like
a
fun, surprise and delight. You know,
yes, like
I'm gonna be surprised and delighted by the cool ways that the universe brings this unfolding to me. So definitely, like, and you're right. So you can, and this is a great example of how what you focus on and how you focus on it, the meaning you give it, really play a role into your vibrational state. So one side of life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Is like life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
You never know what kind of dump you're going to get.
Probably going to be pretty dumpy. You need to be prepared for some flat tires and some dumpy dump. just want to let you know, don't set your expectations too high because
you're going to be let down for
you're
sure.
going to be let down for sure. Let me tell you all the reasons. Let me tell you all the ways I was let down in my life to really seal this point. You know what I mean? That's one side.
Yeah, it's this very weird energy, which is why a lot of religions, I believe, exist, because it's people's way of, kind of dealing with that uncertainty.
Yeah, can you imagine you come into life
and,
like life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Well, what happens after this?
How can I be highly favored?
How exactly? If you don't exactly know what can I at least put a couple of cards in the hand that are going to help me for eternity?
How do I get some brownie points?
How do I get some brownie points with the big man? It's like absolutely. And then so on the other side of the life is like a box of chocolates would be like life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You can get into vibrational harmony with abundance, with a wonderful mate, with an amazing career path that fills you up and really brings you a ton of joy. You can be doing things that you love to do. You can be the conscious creator of your reality.
And
you're just going to be...
Everything can be happening even better than you could have ever anticipated.
You're gonna be surprised and delighted by the way that abundance shows up, and the way that spouse shows up, and the way that these career paths unfold for you, and the people that you meet. And life's like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're gonna get. And I feel like
completely different energies.
And as we move up the scale, I really feel like that's where we are.
Right.
I mean, that's where I wake up. Like no matter what's going on, I'm like pumped.
Right. It's another day.
Yeah. It's like, dude, I have an opportunity to wake up. I have an uncle, and he told me a long time ago that he imagines me waking up in the morning, and he's like, another day, from the time I was a little kid. And I always appreciated that perspective because I'm like, that's exactly right. That's kind of how my life works. It's like another day, another 24 hours, another life is like a box of chocolates.
Yippee. We joke all the time in our house. We have 3 little kids, so we watch a lot of Disney movies, and we joke about that quote from Frozen all the time. How you're like Anna in the movie, whatever, in that one part where she wakes up.
The sky is awake, so I'm awake. And it doesn't matter what time I go to bed. Last night, I was actually up working. I was working on business until about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and Eloise woke up around 7. Whatever.
Our other kids had a weird sleep last night where they kept waking up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, when that moment arises where you've slept just a couple hours,
right,
and you're still a dad, you're still a business owner, you're still a husband, you're still a son to your parents, you're still a brother to your sister, you're still who you are, and you still need to show up to the world.
And your vibration still affects everybody else around you.
Yeah.
Because this is like a vibrational dance.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get to decide in that moment, am I going to doom this day because I didn't get any sleep? Am I going to be on the cranky side of that? Or am I going to make a decision right now that I'm going to bring it because energy doesn't come from sleep. Energy comes from the infinite part of my consciousness. Energy comes from the physical projection of this massive, infinite, unlimited energy into physical reality. It literally projects into an entire physical universe, and it didn't need to take a nap to do it. So if that's available to me, then I'm going to claim it, and it's going to be mine. Woo, let's go. And then you can show up to your baby. You can, whenever she smiles at you, I'm awake. I've been asleep for 10 hours or 12 hours. Hey, daddy.
I missed you.
How do you want to show back up to your baby? You have a great story about that whenever Oliver used to wake up. But for me, I want to show up Eloise, I'm your dad.
Yeah.
And this is me. I am the man with the energy and the fun. Let's go.
Yeah.
But how many people take the sleep that they had the night before, or the acid indigestion they got from the meal they had the night before, and they're like, oh, today's going to be pretty bad.
I didn't get any sleep. I was in pain all night. Yeah, all of these things.
I got into the pizza box at 2 a.m. I really shouldn't.
Oh my goodness.
But talk about this when Oliver, when you're a new mom.
Yeah. So when I was a new mom and Oliver was, I think he was about 7 months old, somewhere in there, 6 or 7 months. And Jordan and I were still new in this business that we had started, and we were up all night, some nights, trying to fix these problems for the different companies that we were working with. So we would be up some nights until 2, 3 in the morning. And then our son would wake up sometimes at 7 in the morning, ready for the day, excited and ready to go. And I remember going into his room morning after morning with just this thought of, it was more of like this energy of just tiredness.
I'm so tired.
And, I'm so tired.
I'm so tired.
I'm helpless. Like I don't know what to do. And it was this energy of wondering why he was awake already, and it felt so icky.
Yeah,
like,
not a fun energy.
Not a fun energy at all.
Why'd you have to wake up? Like,
yeah,
we
why are you
slept
awake
a little
already?
longer.
And almost like this resentment in a way.
Yeah.
You know, that they were already awake and I didn't get any sleep. And it was this really weird energy. So I remember thinking one morning, whenever I went in there, I just had this thought where I put myself in his own shoes, or his own crib, I guess you could say, thinking, would I want a mom who came and greeted me every morning with this energy, with the energy of, I don't want to see you yet.
Yeah, or like, why
are you awake?
Why are you awake? Like, we could be sleeping.
That's such a
not a fun energy.
Yeah. And so I put myself in his shoes, and I was thinking, would I want a mom that greeted me every morning like this? And of course the answer was no.
Yeah.
So immediately I brought my awareness to how I showed up first thing in the morning with him.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be the kind of mom that was energetic and excited to see him first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So from that moment on, every morning when I greeted him, it was more of a fun and excited energy, and one that included a lot of love. It was like, wow, you're awake. We're starting a brand new day.
Well, and I would say
exciting.
Like that whole rant that I just went on a second ago, where like I just said I went to bed at 3:30, I got up early. I think that came from that experience and you having that awareness and you having that kind of mental shift, and you were like, no matter what, no matter how much sleep we've had or haven't had or whatever, whenever my baby wakes up in the morning, he's going to greet somebody who's excited to see him.
Yeah.
And that's just how it's going to be from now on. And you claimed that, and that was over 5 years ago, and I can say you always are that way whenever you see the kids in the morning. And I'm the same way. Like, I really adopted the same thing. I was like, I'm with you. And
we're definitely not perfect. Like, there are definitely days when when we forget that point of clarity.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we wake up exhausted, and we don't choose that side of things. We don't choose to allow our life force energy in. But that's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice that we're always making. We're either allowing our life force energy to flow through us, and it doesn't matter how much sleep we got or when the last time we ate was, or what we're feeling on the inside. Like, there's always a choice to allow that life force energy to flow or to resist it, and choose the other side of things where the not so feel good emotions are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and I feel like the cool thing is having an awareness that we have that choice, and that actually kind of starts to take us up the ladder.
Yeah.
You know?
So from unconscious creator, I remember the shift from being an unconscious creator to actually becoming aware of the creative process.
Yeah, and this one's fun.
Yes, this one is really fun to think about. So when you first become aware of the creative process, it's like you're a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much.
Yeah, it's like you're super excited.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like once you get into that awareness, all of a sudden you're like terrified for like a split second. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm creating my reality.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's this other side that's like, oh my gosh, I'm creating my reality.
Who put me in charge?
Who put me in charge of me? Like, this is crazy.
This is very
really
dangerous.
Is this really how it works? But then you start to play that out in your mind. You're like, oh well. Whenever, and generally the way that happened for me, and you can speak to how it happened for you, but I was fortunate to have parents that were kind of open to just, universal principle and whatnot. So there were books floating around my house by people like Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle and
Stuart
Wilde and Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh and, stuff like that. Those books were floating around my house. And on top of that, my parents would buy like back in the day, it was cassettes.
Yeah.
Like I found like a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within
Jim
like
Rohn.
cassette. Yeah, the Jim Rohn.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
eventually it was CDs, you know? But I remember like having these audios.
Right.
And whenever I started, like I lived in Texas as I was like coming up into personal development. And I remember I would be driving and I'd have these CDs and it'd be like, all right, well, I got a couple hours between here and Austin, you know, to go back to school. It was a 3.5 hour drive. So I was consuming like Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I was consuming Eckhart Tolle's multiple books, you know, that he has. I was consuming Stuart Wilde. I was consuming Abraham Hicks, you know, whenever I got introduced into all that and started to listen to the series. And so that's sort of the aware of the creative process where you just get exposed to this. And there's this emotional state that comes with it, with this hearing the words and hearing such clarity. And there's a resonance that forms that just like explodes your emotional state.
I would almost define it as remembrance.
Yeah. Like you remember, like this clarity is so resonant with a piece of me that now it feels like I remembered something that I've forgotten. And whenever that comes over you, like I'm getting chill bumps thinking about it because I remember one of the experiences that I had around this was I was driving to Austin and I was listening to Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh. And I was driving, and at this point, had already become spiritually awake. But whenever you become aware of the creative process, sometimes if you're like me, you're just like voracious. It's like you're hungry for the materials, you know? It's like, who else out there talks about this stuff, you know? And hopefully I want you and I to be one of those resources futuristically where people go, you know, like Eckhart Tolle, Neil Donald Walsh, Jordan and Vanessa. Have you heard the Jordan and Vanessa Show? You know, it's like those people that are just speaking to it in a way that with such conviction, such clarity.
And that's because of our desire to consume all of this information.
Yeah.
I feel like we had this insatiable desire that we still have and we still go through our days with where we're consuming different content that comes up. But through that desire, we want to share that with others in our own verbiage, in our own way, with our own understanding.
And that's one of the cool things about all these spiritual teachers is they all have their own unique perspective, their own unique way of either channeling the information or receiving the information and conveying it in their own unique style.
And I've always super appreciated that because I've gotten so many different value adds from so many different people because they each have their own style.
Yeah.
And I feel like I needed to hear certain things in a certain way for it to really click in my consciousness, for it to make sense.
Yeah, totally. So I remember this one time I was listening to Neil Donald Walsh, and it's this conversation with God he's got going back and forth. And I remember something in it just struck me. And I like hit this like moment of resonance where it like felt like I was floating in my car. And I'm just like, almost like time slowed down in a way. But what was trippy is I'm going 75 miles an hour driving a car. Right. Actually sounds kind of crazy at the moment. Like whenever I'm actually trying to voice this, but I'm going around this corner and I'm seeing everything that's physical essentially sort of blend into non-physicality and physical at the same time. I just sort of felt this resonance with everything, that everything was just the physical extension of this energy and it was all blended in it. I was a part of it and I was a part of the God force energy that projects into physical reality and makes all of this. You are one with God,
and God is everything.
Exactly. I was one with God, and God is everything. And like you just nailed it. That was the feeling. It was just this oneness that was just like, whoa. And then so like I'm like driving this car, but it feels like I'm sailing a boat almost, like through an energy ether of everything connected, and I am one with all. And like eventually, like I probably drove several miles in that state, but fortunately, when you're connected to infinite consciousness, then you're there. You know,
then you feel infinite. You feel protected.
Yeah, like generally speaking, like my body was still maneuvering the car and stuff, which was really cool. So anyway, I've had experiences like that, and all sorts of different teachers in different ways will unlock things for me. And I think that's where Aware of the Creative Process comes in so fun, because for me, I was just like, I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, a lot of times I envision a puzzle, and it's got infinite pieces to it. And when you're doing a puzzle, when you first lay it out, you have no idea what goes where, especially if you're not looking at the box. So life is kind of like that too, where you have all these different puzzle pieces. And over time, that's why older people, we refer to a lot of elderly as wise, because with time you have a lot more experiences, and with experience you gain wisdom. And so to me, wisdom is having a lot more of those puzzle pieces laid out.
Yeah.
And so that's what a lot of these spiritual teachers and just coaches and mentors in our life have done. They've given us more puzzle pieces to fill out our puzzle of life.
Yeah. So maybe talk about a little bit of your Aware of the Creative Process, because that was me. And I was just like, fortunately, just like, there were literally books and audios and stuff laying around for me to grab. And obviously, I have to take an interest in it. You don't go to your kids and like be like, read this. Now, my dad would take things like Jim Rohn Success Principles, and he would give it to me. I remember like the 12 pillars from Jim Rohn. He would give it to me and say, this will be valuable for you. This will be valuable for you. And but it wasn't like a, you need to read this. It was like a, I think this will be valuable for you. And
because he had seen it. He knew that it worked. Yeah. He had gone through a lot of those materials and applied it to his businesses and different things like that in his life, and seen proof of it. When I was growing up, it was very different from your background. My parents weren't as open spiritually, so they were more in the religious doctrine of like Christianity or something along those lines, or Baptist. I don't really know what they would describe themselves as. Non-denominational. Sure. Yeah. And I didn't really grow up going to church, kind of in and out of different churches, I guess, when my parents felt compelled to take us. But it wasn't ever anything that was extremely pushed on us, which I feel extremely grateful for. They really just let us find our own way with religion or spirituality. And so I had kind of dabbled in different religions growing up. And whenever I was in college, I had gotten involved in a church and was volunteering there and doing different things like that. But I couldn't help but feel lost and very confused. It was almost like the more time I spent at church, the more confused I was about how everything worked. And I felt like there were so many things that were contradictory to different things that you read in the Bible. Right. And I just felt like religion was very contradictory, and none of the things were adding up for me. Yeah.
You and I have talked about the nature of unconditional love with conditions. It's a challenging role. Now every church is different, and every doctrine is different, and there's value in all of it, as you and I discussed. But that's interesting that you were exposed to it and you felt that feeling of kind of lost. Right.
So I was extremely lost, and I felt like I wanted to understand how these things worked, and I had gone through different things. Like, for example, my grandmother passed away. So whenever somebody in your family passes, especially somebody that you really love, you start questioning different things about existence and where do people go after this place and what is physical, non-physical, all of these things. And so the whole religious doctrine it didn't feel good to me. Every time I went to church and they asked, if you died today, do you feel like you would be saved? That just really didn't resonate with me. And so I had all of these questions, and I felt like the answers weren't substantial.
Yeah.
Until we met. And
this crazy guy that has listened to so many spiritual doctrines at this point.
And I had never really met somebody like you that really had the answers to the questions that I was really curious about.
Yeah, and you, it's kind of, we talk about this a lot of how do you like just say, oh yeah, I kind of know the operating system of the universe?
Yeah.
You know what
How
I mean?
do you understand how the universe works? How do you know all of the answers to these questions that I've wondered for my entire life? And once I started going down that path, once I started becoming aware of the creative process and how the universe works and how the law of attraction works and just all of these really huge answers, like with conversations with God, that I remember one of the first introductions I had to all of this expansion was conversations with God in the car
That was a great
on that
one.
3-week road trip that we took 3 weeks after we met. And we had a lot of windshield time on that trip. So you had started playing conversations. And
it's so funny that, like, I mean, just thinking about that, like, hey, it's great that we're dating. Let's listen to this. Like, it's like that's the kind of thing that we had on in the car, like within a few weeks of meeting. Yeah.
And I say at first I was a little resistant because I hadn't heard anything like it before. And so my brain was kind of tweaking for a while. Like,
totally.
Could this be how it works? And it did feel good.
Yeah.
I think at first I was surprised that there was content like that out there because I hadn't grown up around personal development. I had grown up thinking I need to make good grades and do what they say in school and just follow that path. But I had never started the path of personal development, of my own development of self.
Right.
I wasn't introduced to that world. So once you introduced me to Conversations with God and Abraham Hicks, I feel like at first I was kind of resistant because it was just something new and something I didn't even know existed. But then once I did start consuming those different resources, different things clicked, like your own experience in the car. I remember having experiences like that where they would go through some topic and it just really resonated with me. And I felt like the puzzle piece of those different questions that I had for the majority of my life were actually starting to fill in.
Yeah.
And it just, the whole world started making more sense from that point. I started transitioning from a very unconscious creator of not understanding who I was and feeling very lost. And I believe that all ties in, feeling like a very lost college student, not being able to identify something that I would be interested in doing as a career and all of these things, and being lost spiritually as well. And I feel like that was the missing piece for me to actually feel found. Like I belong and I have choice in this life.
Man, you nailed it. And I feel like in the beginning, there sometimes puzzle pieces are bigger than others in a way. You know, like sometimes you fill things in and it's just like, that was a huge puzzle piece for me. Boom.
Right.
And then whenever you start sticking that in, it's just like doing a puzzle where, you know, sometimes an area can be like, I have no idea what's going on there. And then you find like the right piece. And whenever you hit that, then it's like, oh, now all these other pieces start to make sense. So I feel like that's one of the things about like a vibrational shift. When you become aware of the creative process, you start to get into vibrational resonance with what you've known all along, and you begin to remember it, and it kind of floods back to you, which I think is why a lot of people have these energetic experiences. Is, you know, for the people that are watching, you know, these people that would call themselves aware of the creative process. You're our people. You're our vibe tribe. You know what I mean? It's like, woo, we're right there with you.
We're on the same island.
We're on the same island. Woohoo!
Unicorns and rainbows and butterflies.
We're, like, we're out here on our own little, like, he'll build a world of our own that no one else can share. Anyway, the 70s were great. I just think, like, totally, like the music from that whole hippie generation that I was coming up with my mom. Anyway. But that's our vibe tribe, and you know, I feel like there generally will have stories like this of like, yes, I was listening to this, or I was listening to that person, or I was doing this at the time. And if you think about memory, memory is strongly tied to really strong emotional states. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot, but essentially, if you have a very intense emotional reaction, you have a tendency to remember. So a lot of times we'll remember these moments of spiritual unlock where it's just like, where it feels like your whole body like gets filled up with energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just exuding this light all around your body.
And you know what's really funny is like whenever you have, maybe somebody will laugh whenever they hear this, but like what's funny is sometimes this will happen like on the way to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And then you park your car and you walk into Publix or Albertsons or Walmart or like wherever you're going to get your groceries, and you're just looking around and you're like, we are all one, everybody. And you're like grabbing a can.
Kumbaya.
Yeah, kumbaya. You're like grabbing a cantaloupe, you know? It's like, put that in my shopping cart. Like, you and I are one cantaloupe.
And the people behind you in the line are like, I want what he's buying.
Yeah.
Like, I want what he's selling. I want what he's taking.
Totally. It's like that guy got into the CBD gummies before he got over here. Like, so whatever. But it's but like you said, I want there's a glow about these people.
There's a magnetism.
Oh, there's a magnetism to those people that have become aware of the creative process, and they're consuming and they're unlocking and they're
happy.
And they're happy. Yeah, it's fun. This is a really fun place to be.
Yeah.
And I think for me, we talk about this where this ladder isn't something that you just go up and you stay at the top for the rest of your life. You know, a lot of times you're actually like, you can kind of go up the ladder, you can kind of come back to different places.
It's more like a roller coaster where you're like, some days it's like, hang on for dear life.
Yeah.
I hope this thing is secured.
Oh, totally.
A very important thing to note too about the leap from unconscious creator to aware of the creative process is that you never take the leap back. Once you expand, you're not going to contract back into an unconscious creator.
That's exactly right.
There can be people who are aware of the creative process who still aren't implementing things in their life, knowing how the law of attraction works to get them to the life that they choose.
Right.
But they're still aware of the creative process. You never become aware of the creative process and then go back to unconscious creator.
Yeah, and some people will become aware of the creative process and then sort of not want to take that personal responsibility for their lives, so kind of dip back into I'm aware of it, but I'm not going to fully engage that because I don't want to necessarily be responsible for everything that comes my way kind of thing. And some people have victim mentalities that they really need to hold on to. It's a huge piece of their identity. So they don't want to be the creator of their reality. So there are people that become aware of it. They're introduced to the idea, but they kind of shrink back into pretending they don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then it's pretty easy to get around people that don't know. So like you can kind of hide in the crowd. Right. But, maybe there will be some hiders out there that'll decide, like, you know what? Okay.
I guess I can take personal responsibility for my life.
If it would lead to more abundance and awesome relationships and
maybe
better
happiness.
career and happiness, then maybe I could do it.
Yeah.
But we've actually been talking about the next rung of the ladder for a while now, which is
knowledge seeker.
Knowledge seeker, yeah, exactly. So once you become aware of the creative process, then you become this knowledge seeker where it's just like, all right, anything and everything. What's out there on this subject? I want to know about universal laws. I want to know about the people that have kind of figured this out. And a lot of times we see it. And most importantly, I think whenever you're reading things, you just have to see if it resonates with you. You know, because as you start to unlock things, there will be things that resonate with you. And honestly, all doctrines across all time and space, like most of them have this stuff at their core. Like even I've seen really great preachers and speakers at churches, and I've seen really great spiritual teachers, and I've seen just business owners that had no clue what was going on spiritually, but the fundamental frameworks they had in their head of like how their thought becomes things and how they actualize things into their reality. So that's like the Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. Like this stuff is just everywhere once you start to see it. And it's in all different doctrines. It's in the spiritual side. It's in the religious side. It's in the business and personal development side. And I feel like there's this underlying current of truth in a lot of things, which is why you just kind of have to feel it out. And it's okay to do what my kids do with the Lucky Charm cereal. They get the Lucky Charm cereal, and guess what they do?
Pick out the marshmallows.
You know what I mean?
It's the best part.
Yeah, it's the best part. It's like you can't hate on them for it. It's like, okay, I get it. You love marshmallows. You're gonna eat the thing. So sometimes I give in and I give them the Lucky Charms without milk. And I'm just like, hey, you guys go for it. And you come back to a bowl of the brown stuff, you know? And that's kind of what life is. And whatever you're knowledge seeking, whenever you're reading stuff, there's generally value in a lot of it. There's this underlying truth in a lot of it. And
there's value in it all.
Yeah, you just need to pick out the marshmallows, man. And as you pick out your marshmallows, then you'll build this conscious understanding of the creative process, how it works for you. And you get to build this identity. But the identity that I want to see people build is this super empowered, high energy, beast mode person that's coming at reality like, I am aware of the creative process and I'm ready to engage these principles and bring forth the energy that creates worlds and see the abundance enter my life, see the relationships, see the unfolding of all these awesome career paths, and love being a parent, love being a dad, love being a mom, like all those things. Like I just want to see energy just pumping into people's reality.
So I think, yeah, that totally. I love the energy that you're bringing to the table. And that really brings us to practitioner.
Yeah, so that's it. And that's what I want to see. Like
you know it so well. You know the ladder so well that you're just naturally going from rung to rung.
Well, and this is exactly how we developed it, because we were just talking about like how do you go from here to there kind of thing. And
just kind of observing humanity and our own journeys to conscious creator and really having the desire to explain it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And so practitioner, we were talking about this the other day. When you start to understand the creative principles, then it's like, man, I really need to start like trying some of this stuff out. I really need to start focusing my mind in a particular way. Like I really want to start to exercise some of these principles, and you start to get excited
about trying it, about practicing.
Absolutely. And you start to literally start to try things and just start to build little systems in your life around the way that you're going to do things. But
I feel like a big part of you is like, how do I even apply that to my life?
Yeah, totally.
What do I do now? Now that I'm the conscious creator of my own experience, I have a lot of weight on my shoulders. And what's the first step I can take to actually manifesting the life that I choose?
Yeah, I remember in one of the Abraham Hicks DVDs, they said, if I'm the creator of my life experience, how is it so? You know? Or like something along those lines, like, how is it so?
Right.
And I feel like we get there and we want to know. And if you're like us, you know, we've talked about in previous podcasts that we're very practical. We, you know, like a lot of times whenever I was listening to those spiritual doctrines and stuff, especially in the beginning, I was looking for these little unlocks of like, how can I do this better? How can I consciously create my life better? How can I bring forth more energy? How can I allow more abundance into my experience? How can I unleash myself from the limitation of thought that's holding me back? How can I allow more?
Resist less.
And so there is kind of this tug of war between I want it so badly and like
I'm still human.
And sort of like you're sort of like sometimes whenever you first become aware of them, depending on how you do it, then there's sort of like this like fear of desire that shows up, because it's like, oh, well, you can't want it that badly, dude, because if you want it that badly, then you're going to push it away from yourself because you're affirming that you don't have it yet. And then so there's like this tug of war of like you want it but don't affirm you don't have it, and then
so
people
again,
sort of
this
get
like
afraid
contradiction almost.
And then people kind of become afraid of their own thought in a way where it's like boom. But like what I've realized now, at least in my own personal life, is unresisted desire is the fuel of the universe.
It is pure bliss.
It is pure bliss. When you want something so bad and you want to move forward, it's like toward it so badly, and you just feel no resistance in it, and you just allow yourself to want that, you know, like if you want energy in your life, unresisted desire is the fuel of the universe. It's the source of expansion. It's what makes all this go around. It's what rips new physical realities into existence. It's what creates solar systems. It's what creates galaxies. It's what creates universes, this unbridled desire to move forward and to just see more expansion happen.
And unfortunately, the opposite of that is desire with resistance is torture.
Yes, you nailed it. Yeah. Desire, like resisted desire feels like torture. I want it, but is just a freaking nightmare.
It's an awful limbo to live in. And this is exactly why we're developing Vibration Fit, because we were in that spot where we understood all of this woo-woo stuff, but we wanted to bridge it with actual how-to frameworks and principles that we knew when we applied them to our lives, we were going to win.
Yeah, simple inputs and outputs. I wanted a system where we could input and output. And it sounds a little trite, but at the end of the day, like, I know whenever I look into this stuff, I am looking for those unlocks. I'm looking for actualization tips. Like, how do I bring more of the things that I want into my reality? How do I allow myself to desire these things in an unresisted format? How do I just allow myself to experience the bliss that comes with unresisted desire? So a lot of the game is not only establishing desires. I feel like there are a lot of people out there that are like looking for their why kind of thing.
Right.
And it's cool whenever you can get that desire. But if you really fully allow yourself to desire, really fully allow yourself to want more in the universe, and then you can focus on just releasing the resistance to that desire, that's, for me, where I've been able to unlock a tremendous amount of energy in my life. And for the most part, my friends that know me from the time I was a young person would say, like, I don't even know what kind of Energizer bunny that dude is. Like apparently he doesn't need to sleep. Like, he just does and moves, and he has energy for the things that he wants. And it's mostly, I think, because I focus on the things that I really want in my life. You should have seen me when I met you.
You are still a child.
Yeah, I am still a child.
I call you my Peter Pan.
I see the things that I want, and I'm like, I want to want that. I want to want that. I want to allow myself to want that.
And I truly believe that's what this whole life experience is all about. It's about the unresisted desire and experiencing those things in life.
Yeah.
Where we can experience ourselves as the conscious creator, where we can imagine and envision something and then experience it in a tangible way.
Totally.
Because in non-physical, we don't have any understanding of what things feel like. So this whole human experience is really just a collection of data, of emotion, of how things feel. Because in non-physical, you don't have access to that.
Absolutely. So, like, when we talk about this, if the target is an emotional state, then a lot of people think that actualization is the target. If I had more money, then. If I had the mate, then. If I had the career that was really fulfilling, then. If I had the relationship with my kids that was really good, or my kids were behaving the way that I want them to, then, you know.
Right.
So there's there are like a million if-then statements in people's reality. And because a lot of times the path into actualization isn't clear, especially if you're an unconscious creator, not aware of the creative process, then I feel like people have a tendency to not allow themselves to desire those things that they want. And that unbridled desire, that unresisted desire, is the source of energy, which is why you see a lot of people kind of lumping around, you know, like tired potatoes on a couch, just because they forgot how to allow themselves to want and desire those things in their life. Was
it a Les Brown quote? He said most people die when in their 20s, but they don't bury them until they're in their 80s.
Yeah. It's like you die when you're 25, you don't put them in the ground till they're 75, 80. Yeah. Those quotes are like wild, and it's true. So, like, the great thing about the universe, though, is like once you become aware of the creative process, and then you step in a knowledge seeker, you start listening to stuff like this, you start reading books, and you start doing the deal and engaging, then you can start to practice those things that you're learning. And if you can get honed in on this and start to allow yourself that unbridled desire, you will see the energy come back into your body. It is always available. If you look around, you see the physical universe. My brain is always exploding at how much energy is projected into the physical universe. Like, you don't have to think about any of it. Like, the Earth is spinning and the moon is there, and the Earth is at a 23.5 degree angle rotating around an axis once every 24 hours, as every 365 days it spins around a sun, as that sun is screaming through space inside of a Milky Way galaxy of 400 billion other stars, and then that Milky Way galaxy is also moving in an expanding universe, and then the Milky Way galaxy has a relationship with Andromeda, that's our neighboring galaxy, and we're doing this beautiful dance, or we're kind of dancing around each other, and then the entire physical universe is continuing to expand.
All in perfect harmony.
All in perfect harmony.
Working without any effort from us so that we can literally just focus on creating and experiencing in this life.
Absolutely. And there's there are physical laws that we can count on, gravity, these things like we're physical. I'm separate from you. I'm Jordan, you're Vanessa. We have an identity.
But we're also together.
But we're also together. Yeah. We're one. And it's the coolest thing. Like, the physical universe and life itself is the coolest, funnest, most exciting thing in the universe to me. And that's why we're on the leading edge. Mm-hmm. That's why they talk about being on the leading edge of thought. This is where you come in and focusing mechanisms that we have in our bodies, and you identify desires, and as you allow yourself to unbridledly desire and want those things, the energy, the resources, the people, the circumstances, the strategies, the events to bring those things to physical fruition all begin to form in vibrational reality. This energy is not static. It's always just pumping and desiring more. That energy that creates worlds wants you to be focused in that way. And that's what alignment is. Whenever you're purely focused on a desire, and that energy that is assembling all those vibrational components behind you to bring it forward into your reality and making that available to you, it's like right there with you. Like, it's right there, and you're the physical extension of it. So like you remember that, you will always have the energy. I can promise you, if you pay attention to this doctrine and you really start to practice and you become that practitioner, you will always have the energy that you need to do whatever it is that you desire in the universe, because it is infinitely available.
Hammer laid. That was just so beautifully said. I don't even have words to follow that up with.
I feel like it's you bringing it out of me, but I think that leads us perfectly into the next rung of the ladder, which is
conscious observer.
So once you become a practitioner for a while, you're doing the deal.
You're practicing.
Then what's going to happen? Eventually, if you actually engage in these principles and you start to allow the energy that creates worlds to come forth into your physical body, and you start to see actualization inside of these ideas, then ultimately you're going to start having physical experiences that match the thoughts and the things that you've allowed yourself unbridled desire toward. You're going to start to see actualization of those things.
Because you're present, what you're speaking into your current reality is your future. So what you're saying now is going to be what you're experiencing later. So that's all a part of the practicing. So you're practicing these things. You're becoming aware of the way that you talk and the way that you think about things, because you're thinking, well, if I am the creator of my own reality, then this stuff matters. It matters what I think about. It matters what I talk about. And once you start practicing those things, you become the conscious observer. You become aware of the things that are manifesting in your reality.
Absolutely.
So, for example, getting a front row parking spot.
Sometimes even not even necessarily having to focus on it. You're just in vibrational harmony with who you are. You're focused on your desire. You are going through your day, you're feeling awesome, and then things like that just happen, and they're in alignment with that vibration that you've got going on.
Right.
So you didn't necessarily have to like project a front row parking spot. It just so happened that you were in vibrational harmony with the front row parking spot, because you could have been in vibrational harmony about something completely different, but now that thing is now in harmony with it. So you start to acknowledge like, hey, well, this makes sense.
Yeah, I feel ease and flow today.
I feel ease and flow.
I feel really happy today.
I feel ease and flow like over the last few days. Like I feel like things are always working out for me. I feel like the universe is operating in my favor. I feel like I'm unleashing the energy that creates worlds into my reality.
I feel really energetic. I woke up in a good mood today.
Yeah.
Today's a great day.
Today's a great day. And then, bam, the parking spot. And not only the parking spot, but when you walk in, a really nice, pleasant person that smiles at you.
The things that you want to buy are on sale.
The things you want to buy are on sale. Precisely. Like all these things, like, and you'll start to see like this unfolding of actualization in a very flowy kind of way. Like the other day we had a conversation where we were actually putting the studio together and we were doing all this stuff, putting the office together, and we were trying to figure out how to move a lot of the stuff from our home studio into an office space that we had built out. And so I had gotten in flow and I was just like in the zone, and I was just like saying crazy stuff like, hey, well, I think that maybe I should do this. And I would just like get on Facebook Marketplace and like look up desk, you know, and then all of a sudden there'd be somebody wanting to give me a really nice, awesome desk if I'll just come get it out of an office that they're moving into for free. It's like awesome. That's like a super nice, expensive, custom desk that they just want to give me for free if I can come get it out of the office. And then that would like, it just felt like the next right thing. And I love that idea of the next right thing. And that's sort of what it feels like, is like the next right thing. And I remember I kind of like got that desk, and then I told you, I was like, you know what I think would be awesome is like storage containers. I have a thing for storage containers, and obviously we love organization and all these things, but I was like, I think we should buy some storage containers. I think it would really help us move the stuff from one spot to another. And then what happened?
And then, so I kind of talked him out of it on the way home. I was like, we don't need more storage containers. We have so many storage containers. And he told me the reason behind why he wanted them. He said it would make the move to the studio a lot easier. He could just put all of our equipment in there and then do a quick load over to the office, and it would be simple. And I was kind of thinking on it. And then about 30 minutes later, I get a ding on my phone, and it was a notification from Target saying that their storage containers were 20% off.
The exact storage containers that I wanted to buy. We're like, ding! Storage containers, the exact one that Jordan likes to buy, is on sale for 20% off at Target.
So I told him, and 5 minutes later, we were on our way to Target.
It's funny because she just starts laughing, and she holds up her phone. She's like, guess what? I'm like, what? She's like, storage containers that you want are on sale 20%, and I just got the ding. So that seems simple, right? But when you're in flow, it's like the next right thing is presenting itself in your mind. You're in vibrational harmony with that next right step, and then it just becomes super clear in your mind, like, oh yeah, that feels good to me, that feels good to me, that feels good to me. And then sometimes, like, as you begin to supercharge it and you really begin to get in harmony, because now that this podcast is happening and all this energy is being built, I see there's like this runway of energy that was pulling us into it. And that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like so much ease and flow. There was like everything was just so easy for all of this stuff to happen that it just like made sense. But what you'll start to see is like it'll become like knock you over the head with a hammer clear of like the affirmation of the next right step. It's like, this feels like the next right thing. Let me voice why I think that's the next right thing.
And once you observe these things over and over and over and over again, and you're connecting the dots from consciously observing the things in your reality, that's when you make the leap to the conscious creator.
Yes.
Whether you're creating things that are what you choose to experience, or by default, you're still seeing in your life that you are the one creating it.
Absolutely.
Whether you were in a positive frame of mind, or I guess said another way, at the top of the emotional scale, or if you're coming from a place that's at the bottom of the emotional guidance scale, that doesn't feel good, you still see evidence of it manifesting in your life. And at that point, you are the conscious creator of your reality, because you understand that you are the one that is creating the things that are around you.
Absolutely. You are wielding the hammer. You know what I mean? Like you have Thor's hammer.
For better or worse,
like,
I have this hammer.
Yeah, I have the creative power, you know, and that's, I think moving into that step that you just said, that's the next step, conscious creator. Like conscious observer, you start to have those experiences and you begin to acknowledge them. You realize you have the power. Then you start exercising that power, not in a trial basis, like practitioner to observer, like,
Right.
oh, I'm going to try some of this stuff and see what happens. Oh, that happened. Oh, that happened. Oh, that happened. Oh, that
And
happened.
as an
And it becomes-
observer, you're like really gathering evidence.
yes.
You're just an evidence gatherer. You
Yeah.
see all this evidence appearing everywhere. And with that evidence is basically what turns you into a conscious creator.
In personal development a lot, this is where people begin to talk about the reticular activating system, where whenever you start shopping for a particular car, all of a sudden you start to see that car everywhere. You know?
Right.
And a lot of times we're trying to physically explain these things that are happening in ultimate reality. But ultimately, when you get into vibrational harmony with things, especially when it's unbridled desire, the evidence that's going to show up in your reality of actualization taking place is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. And that happens enough times, you become the conscious creator where you decide, I am wielding the hammer. I am the creator of my reality. I am at the source of my destiny. And I will focus on what I want to focus on, what I want to bring into physical reality, what I want to actualize. I will exercise my power to take myself toward a life I choose, not some happenstance, circumstantial life that I don't have control over. And that's whenever you really claim your power, I feel like, and you become an empowered human being in the physical plane.
Totally. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's so
And
cool.
I love that you touched on the reticular activating system, because I feel like this is just taking it just a little more depth. It's taking it a little deeper, because a lot of things that I read is talking about the reticular activating system and how your brain, when engaged with something, so whether it's like find everything that's the color red or find everything that's the color blue, and then it goes to work. It's like a file manager where it's finding all of the things around you that are red or blue. And it works the same way with, for example, saying that you're a great dad. If you feel like you're a really great dad, your file manager in your brain is going to go through all of these scenarios and times in your life when you were a really great dad. And sometimes when you feel like a bad dad, it's going to go through and find all of the examples of times when you feel like you were a bad dad.
Yeah, you totally nailed it. And that's why focus is so important.
Right. But this is taking it one layer deeper, which incorporates the law of attraction. So whenever your reticular activating system is activating something, knowing at the same time that the law of attraction is bringing you more of that. So that's like the one layer deeper that makes it even more important of what you're focused on, which, being a conscious creator of your own existence, you become more and more aware of the things that you're creating and really connecting the dots between what you're engaging, what you're telling your reticular activating system to engage, and knowing that whenever those things are engaged, you're going to get more of that in your future. Don't be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you start taking like our physical apparatus and you start bridging that with universal law, with vibration, with like attracts like, and thought attracts thought. And you start to realize that a thought form is actually a manifestation in itself, because it was attracted, and you have access to thoughts that are in vibrational proximity to what you're currently focused on. Whenever you start to realize that, then you start working your way into vibrational harmony with the life that you choose now dominantly, and you begin to establish dominant thought patterns around that. Then dominantly, you're going to be in vibrational harmony with thoughts that are in harmony with where you want to go. And that's where life gets really fun, because then you stay above the green line. You're naturally elevated. You're naturally attracting thought that's in harmony with where you want to go. And you feel like this empowered creator that you were meant to be.
That's when you're in this beautiful universal dance.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It's super fun.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess we can wrap it up with the last one, which is
So the last rung of the ladder, which we are sometimes there and we're sometimes not there, is conscious allower.
Totally.
And when you're a conscious allower, that means that there's no resistance. You're allowing your desires to be what they are, and you're having fun on the journey to experiencing those desires.
Absolutely. Like we just said, like allowing yourself unbridled desire, allowing yourself to desire those things without resistance within it is a really powerful place to be. I think also, if you look at conscious allower, you're also allowing other people to be on their journey wherever they are.
Right.
So I think a lot of times people hold themselves in resistance because they're judging where someone else is on the conscious allower ladder. And at the end of the day, you don't judge a second grader for being in second grade. I'm not saying that that these are higher or lower in terms of education level. Like there are people
we don't
really,
have like a class system here.
No, there are people that are really high in IQ and intelligence and rational thinking that aren't necessarily on the doctrine of thoughts become things and they're the conscious creator of their reality. So it's just different people doing different things, and ultimately you just allow people to be where they are. So,
and that point is so important. There's actually an entire law that is the law of allowing.
Totally.
A lot of people talk about the law of attraction, but there is the law of allowing as well, which means exactly what you said. It's looking at everything as it is and not judging it for good or bad. It's just seeing it as that's the exact right thing in this exact right moment.
Totally. And if the more that you can allow, the less resistance you're going to build up within yourself. And that's the natural evolution. If you can get to the place where you're just allowing the universe to be the universe, you're allowing people to be people, you're allowing yourself to desire the things that you desire. And it's this one big, beautiful dance where you realize that you're in vibrational harmony with the life that you choose, and everyone else is in vibrational harmony with whatever it is that they're in vibrational harmony with. And you just see this beautiful dance and all these cooperative components just activating in this wonderful, beautiful flow where the entire universe does what we were talking about earlier, with all these things happening on your behalf, taking you toward where you want to be, taking you toward the life that you choose, allowing unlimited energy to be available for those things. I think when you get there, it's a really fun place. And just like you said, you're not always there. I mean, there are some people that have had that enlightenment moment. Like Eckhart Tolle is one of my favorites. Like you see him talk about things and he's just so blissful. He'll be like, I was folding my socks this morning and they were so beautiful. I held them like a tiny baby for hours. You know, it's like the most awesome guy. And he's like been there for a long time because he had this like enlightenment moment where he sat on a park bench for like years, just consciously allowing the universe
so
to be.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? And so like those things, I totally get it. Like I'm definitely still in the roller coaster of the journey to conscious allower.
Sure.
You know?
And in one day, we can be up and down the ladder all around. One specific example is sometimes for the businesses, there's something that comes up and there needs to be a solution in order to fix the problem. So there's a problem and you're kind of beating the computer for a solution, but it's not working. And sometimes there's a couple of hours or 3 hours or however long that's consumed into these projects. Sometimes it could be a week. And you're really good sometimes in those moments when they arise at just looking at it and realizing the solution is not here. I'm going to take a break. And you go fishing and you're out on a lake somewhere listening to the birds chirping, catching fish. What usually happens whenever you decide to release whatever you're in and just allow?
Well, generally what happens is the energy breaks and you become a vibrational harmonious component with the solution rather than the problem. Sometimes if you'll just release the attachment to the problem and just allow yourself to float off and go get above the green line on a completely different subject, on a completely different topic, on a completely different thread, go to the beach, go fishing, go play with your kids,
go to a movie,
go on a date night with your wife, like whatever, then the universe has a tendency to naturally push you up, push your emotional state
because
up.
The path of least resistance was always there.
Correct. So, the path of least resistance is always there. So essentially you kind of allow yourself to stop trying to beat a path through some bushy wood
with your machete.
With your machete, and you allow yourself to just float back into the perfect path that was already carved for you. Exactly, because as we know, as you begin to follow these doctrines, you begin to become aware of the vibrational progress that the infinite part of your consciousness has already made on every subject that you've ever been focused on ever.
Right.
So you start to become aware that the yellow brick road really has been laid on every subject that you've ever had a desire on. The infinite part of your consciousness has responded vibrationally. It's already assembled cooperative components to the perfect unfolding of that in harmony with the life that you would choose for yourself in your physical reality, and the infinite part of your consciousness, which knows you better than anything. And when you start to play that game, then you start to just allow more and more and more and more, realizing that like you've got this infinite energy in your pocket, so to speak. You've got this infinite energy that you're the physical extension of. Why would you hold that back from doing its wonder in your life? You know what I mean?
Right.
So you just start to allow it to play into your reality more, and you allow things to unfold perfectly.
And you
more
follow
and
the
more,
fun.
And you follow the fun.
You have a lot more fun in life, which is why we're here. We didn't come here to struggle and just have a measly experience.
Oh,
we came
totally.
here to have our hands in the clay and create things and feel that life force energy flowing through us and wake up in the morning with the energy that creates worlds.
Absolutely.
Saying, here I am. What
Let's
does
do
today
this.
hold?
Another day. So, yeah.
Let's go play.
Let's go play. So I think this was great. I mean, this was really fun talking about the journey to conscious allower. And, you know, at any step of the process, you can, if you've found yourself engaged in these materials for a while and you found yourself up at conscious allower, or those days where you're just looking at the universe and smiling and just allowing everything to be what it's going to be, then you can probably identify moments of your journey where you've been at these different stages. And looking back, you really look back at it as like a parent looking at their child, watching them develop, watching them learn to walk, watching them learn to run, watching them learn to become a human in a physical universe and all these things. So you start to see yourself on this journey to conscious allower, and you just appreciate those previous versions of yourself that were willing to be first the unconscious creator of their reality, stepping into being aware of the creative process, being voracious knowledge seekers, looking for more things that you can engage in, and then becoming the practitioner, thank goodness, where you start to activate some of those principles in your reality and you start to practice that, and then becoming the conscious observer of those things that are actualizing in your reality because you begin to practice, and then feeling the power, knowing that you're wielding the power of the infinite energy that creates worlds, and becoming the conscious creator of your reality, where you really start to see this life experience begin to actualize in a fun way, and then ultimately being the conscious allower of the universe and a conscious allower of this beautiful life that you've built for yourself.
And I don't know about you, but whenever I think about all of those previous versions of myself that have been on all of those rungs of the ladder, I just feel immense gratitude
Totally.
to all of those versions of me, because that's what brought me here. And I really appreciate the clarity that I have, that I see the world through now. And
Absolutely.
it makes every day so much fun.
Yeah,
knowing that I'm creating.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a funny note, but sometimes I try to like pass energy back to that version of myself, like sort of like, hey
It's
man,
okay, dude.
it works out, dude. Like it's gonna be all right, because like you know, there are elements of our story where and that's fun. Ultimately, you look back and you see the contrast that you went through that helped you develop these principles and be strong in them.
That's what makes a great movie, right?
Yeah, it's what makes a great
you don't
movie.
ever go to a movie and they say, well, this guy had a really great life. He was happy every single day, and then he died.
Yeah, no, totally. It's like if you've ever watched a movie with your child and they're not aware of how movies unfold, and they're like, this is not going to be good. Turn it off. You know, it's like it's going to be okay, dude. It works out. It's a Disney movie. It's going to work out fine.
Yeah, there's a happy ending.
Yeah, there's a happy ending. So I feel like I am grateful.
I guess a happy unfolding, I should say, because endings don't exist.
A happy infinite unfolding.
Yeah.
A happy infinite unfolding. I dig it.
So with that, the clarity that we've captured today is that there is always another rung to the ladder.
And you can always jump around, and I feel like the more that we can practice conscious allowing in our reality, the more fun we have. And I think that's what we do a lot, is just really focus on the fun and try to stay up there as much as I can. But at the same time, don't beat up on yourself when
you fall down the ladder.
when you fall down the ladder and you gotta climb pick yourself back up. So with that,
I think, with that, I want to end it with the Abraham Hicks quote that I love. I actually have it in our bedroom to remind myself of this every day, but it says, the better you feel, the better it gets, and the better it gets, the better you feel. So that's just kind of a summarization of what we're about here, just focusing on the way that you feel and bringing that to the forefront of this, and just with that in mind, with the journey to conscious creator. And by the way, we're going to have this image on the video, as well as a resource on vibrationfit.com.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of these things that we talk about here, there will be free resources on vibrationfit.com for you to go grab this and download it. And you want to keep it in your pocket or keep it in an image on your phone, then sometimes it can be helpful to be like, you know what? Like, if I want to be more in harmony with the conscious creator, conscious allower side of myself, then these are the kind of thoughts that I'm going to engage with today. So I actually do refer to this a good bit in my own personal life, and just, I try to stay at the top of the ladder.
And sometimes one of us is holding the other one up.
And Vanessa's a lot of times climbing the ladder, yanking me up. It's like, I'm having a great day and you're coming with me.
So yeah, that's all part of our fun journey together.
Good stuff. So thank you guys for being with us, and have a great day.
Love and light to all.